artificial intelligence is moving so rapidly and becoming such an important part of our lives so quickly and changing so quickly that I make no excuse for doing something more on it now, as I've learned something new, I've got a new perspective on something, and pretty much it's inevitable that as researchers, AI is going to be part of our lives. And I met a man last week, Richard O'Rourke, and we were having a conversation, and he offered me a new perspective on artificial intelligence. He reminded me, or drew my attention to, the work of Ross Ashby. Now, I've come across the work of Ashby before, obliquely, tangentially, in relation to the work of Stafford Beer. You may have heard me talking about Stafford Beer's viable systems model. But Ashby did some of the mathematical work related to that early cybernetics work, handling information. People who, in the 1960s and 1970s, were thinking about the possibility of artificial intelligence, even though it hadn't achieved the sophistication that we know of it today. But one of the things that Ashby said, and I think this is important, is that artificial intelligence doesn't exist. To think of, and this is the mistake we're all making, to think of artificial intelligence as something else, something other than ourselves, is likely to lead us into mistakes, likely to lead us into errors, likely to see us using artificial intelligence in less than intelligent ways in our work. What Ashby suggests is that we should see it as an intelligence amplifier. The amplifier that you engage with can amplify your intelligence, but still it's you engaged with the artificial intelligence, and it's your intelligence that is being amplified, not anything that the artificial intelligence has on its own. And that's kind of important, because what Ashby is saying is that intelligence is the art of making appropriate selections. I get up every morning and I would be overwhelmed by the world and its beauty and the variety of different ways a day can start and the different times it can start at. But I pick out from that vast amount of information that I've got available to me a few things. I focus on the alarm clock going off, I listen to the news, I go to the fridge and there's a limited range of things I can choose for breakfast. I don't have an infinite range of things that I could be looking for breakfast. I have a limited range. I've already pre-selected many things. And it's the selection of appropriate choices that is important. It's the selection, and you cannot shift and lose responsibility for those choices that you make in selecting. One of the things that Richard O'Rourke said to me was, look, we know that it's possible, we know that 1 million chimpanzees with typewriters typing for 1 million years could write the works of Shakespeare. Eventually they would, in a long period of time. Eventually enough monkeys on enough typewriters would write the works of Shakespeare. But that's not even interesting, because what is important is that you or I would have to go and read those pages, look at those pages, and we would select the ones that made sense. Now, artificial intelligence is a way of narrowing down the choice. Artificial intelligence could, a neural network system could write the works of Shakespeare in 1 million years. It's more likely to do it than 1 million chimpanzees with typewriters. The selection of things it offers us is narrowed. But precisely because the selection is narrowed, it means that we may miss some things when we get to look at the output of artificial intelligence. And it's us. We look at the output from the artificial intelligence and we say, that's okay, I'm happy with that as an answer, that's what I'm going to use. I've been using artificial intelligence to write some computer programs. When the artificial intelligence system gave me a program, I would run it. If it didn't do what I wanted it to do, I'd go back and say, no, that's not what I wanted. It's not doing the response that I wanted. Try again. The other thing that he taught me, which was kind of interesting, was why it's so difficult to get artificial intelligence to draw good pictures, is because artificial intelligence doesn't look at its own output. If you say, look at what you've just produced, it will look at it and will be able to spot the errors. But if you don't say look at it, it doesn't look at it. It explains an awful lot. The other week I was trying to get it to reproduce some script, sort of painted sign. I wanted to repaint a sign and I wanted the letters reproduced in the same style. And the artificial intelligence would look at what I presented it with a rather degraded photograph of what I wanted to produce. I said, look at this, produce me this. And what it produced looked nothing like the sample I'd given it. And I would say to it, no, it's got these curls here and those finials there. And the ChatGPT would then look at it and say, oh yes, you've got a very good eye, because artificial intelligence always flatters the person who's using it, so don't be drawn into that. You've got a good eye, you're quite right, I'll be able to put that right. And did it put it right? No, it didn't put it right, but it tried again, and it stops when I say, okay, I've had enough of this, I'm satisfied with the answer, or it's obvious you're not going to get close enough to make me happy. And researchers cannot certainly pass off that responsibility for making decisions to artificial intelligence completely. And what you have to remember is it's you and the artificial intelligence that is being judged as intelligent, not the machine on its own. And the machine is quite as capable of amplifying stupidity or lack of intelligence as it is of amplifying intelligence. So you have to be very careful, have to watch it. I'm going to have to do some more work on Ashby. I'm going to have to go and look at more of his work, because he sounds absolutely fascinating, some of the things that he's done. As I say, he says quite definitely that if you've got an environment, that you're living in an environment, the environment has a huge amount of variety in it. You can only cope with that amount of variety if you have a correspondingly abundant variety of responses to the environment. And since the morning that presents itself to me tomorrow morning will be different in so very many different ways from every morning I've ever seen before, I need to have an infinite ability to cope with that variety. Well, I don't have, and I don't have the time to do it, so I use certain rules or algorithms for reducing the amount of variety that I have to deal with. I attenuate the signals that are coming to me, I unamplify them to reduce the number of choices I've got to make in the morning, otherwise I would be paralysed by inactivity. Well, artificial intelligence can be used in a similar way, but it's never artificial intelligence on its own. If you leave artificial intelligence on its own, then it produces nonsense, and you deserve to be punished. Not physically punished, but it will catch up with you in the end if you're trying to hand your whole responsibility for choosing, your whole responsibility for making selections over to the artificial intelligence. It should come back and bite you in the end when, and probably will, when the artificial intelligence produces some kind of nonsense that it's made up. And after all, it is its job to make things up. it produces a different outcome every time. Every time its response is a feature of what it's been doing before, and so it's going to be different every time. And sometimes it will simply produce nonsense. That's its job. So it's your ultimate responsibility to be able to select between those cases when it's producing slop and when it's producing something that is gold. And that's the way to look at artificial intelligence, not as something else apart from us, but a tool that we work with, and what will be judged in the end is the corresponding output of us with a artificial intelligence in much the same way, or exactly the same way, as I can't blame it on my calculator if it produces the wrong answers because it's got the battery goes flat. That's down to me. And the same with artificial intelligence. The equivalent of the battery going flat impairs its function, that's down to me. So think of artificial intelligence when you're using it as a tool that you need to interact with, and it's your interactions with it that are important. And I'm sure I'm going to come back to this again, because I'm going to go away now and look at some of the more of the work of Ashby and see what he had to say about self-organising systems and some of the issues about decision making that he was playing with in the 1960s and 1970s.